man, the vac is back, careening, I say again, to episode 100. It is a big deal, man. Not many podcasts actually make 100 episodes, and I know we go out to an audience of tens, but it's still a big deal.
Yeah,
100 episodes.
100 episodes, 10 views an episode. We're talking 1,000 views now.
Exactly. That's maths.
Minimum.
That's just maths as well.
And as we've said before, if each one of them tells two people, each one of those two people tells two people, all of a sudden
clearly that didn't happen.
Maybe they will, though.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
No, once we got
give them time. Come on.
Maybe episode 200. Get a bit of traction.
And maybe we need more content. Maybe we need an episode a day. Maybe an episode a week.
Jeepers.
Maybe the people want more.
Far out.
Maybe that's the problem.
365 episodes a year.
I think we need more statistics, because after the 10th episode, I gave you like a huge amount of statistics.
Did we think that was a big deal at the time? 10. I think we probably did. Probably thought 10's a big deal. It was.
Are you going to raise
10 hours of just, yammering away? So the very first episode that we did, we talked about Neuralink.
Yep.
You said last week that we're going to talk about Neuralink's patient this week.
Oh, did we?
You teased it at the end.
Did I say that?
I don't know if we don't ever follow up with these, but did something happen to the test subject?
Well, the first implant has been given. So there's the first Neuralink patient has received Neuralink, and from what I recall, I don't know how long he's had it. Probably only a couple of weeks is my guess. But they have to. Apparently, they've given him the news. He's at least a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, and he could control a computer and a phone with his mind. Mm-hmm. He was picking Spotify songs.
Yeah, amazing.
Things like that. He was pretty happy about it. And the implant isn't taking too well to the brain, and I think that they're going to have to remove it. And I think
the company already has removed it.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Mm.
So the sort of brain has some kind of neural tendrils, like little tentacles of neurons that are supposed to go up a thin plastic tube and interface with the electrode. And I think they were retracting and not properly growing or something to that effect. And Elon said that this is the kind of thing that this is why they're doing testing and human testing, because you have to encounter these problems and learn how to overcome them. So it's not going to work the first time. This is like the first Starship launch.
Of course.
It wasn't going to get to orbit, or very unlikely to get to orbit.
Yep. The first test subject says here he got quite emotional, fearing he would lose the enhancements the device brought to his life. This is a quote. "It was very, very hard to give up all of the amazing things I was able to do. I think I had cried afterwards. However, Neuralink was able to make modifications to the technology and improve this dude's connection. He is now hopeful there will be a day when spinal cord injuries will not be completely debilitating, saying, 'I don't think it's as far away as people might think. It's going to be amazing when someone can have spinal cord injury, go into a hospital, get surgery, and walk out a couple of days later. I think it's going to happen.'" That's a bold one, isn't it?
I think he's right. And he's going to have more insight to it than we would.
Isn't that scary, though? I mean,
it's amazing.
This guy was, he sustained his spinal cord injury in a freak diving accident 8 years ago, right? So if there is that situation where you become a paraplegic, essentially, go to hospital, and the next day you're back out, you can walk again.
And you're just telling your friends at work about it like it was a thing that happened.
It was like you stubbed your toe.
Yeah. I broke my spine yesterday. Severed my spinal cord.
All fine, obviously.
It's fine. I'm in medicine, right?
Actually,
medicine, give it up.
Actually, better. I'm playing Spotify with my brain now.
I can understand why he would be emotional giving it up.
I understand entirely. Take the phone away from the kids, or take the phone away from us when we were teenagers. Take the video game controller off us as teenagers. Holy moly. Have you ever seen the videos where the parents break the console? They go, I've had enough of this PlayStation in the house, or Xbox, just to be balanced. And they fucking smash it in front of the kids.
Throw it in the pool.
That is removing the kid's Neuralink. It's the same thing.
I mean, the Xbox is an extension of yourself in some ways. That's how the kid would see it. They've got probably this online identity.
They probably just think that the threat of destroying the console is so remote. The threat is non-existent, because why would our parents waste money like that? Like, these things aren't cheap. They never were. Sega Master System cartridges were $90 a pop. They were sacred.
The kid probably doesn't appreciate it at the time. But one reason why they're so upset is that is their source of dopamine release.
Correct.
This is where they're getting their highs from.
Correct. And they could be addicted to it too.
Oh, totally.
So now you've got this dealer in the form of the parent dealing this video games to them. It shuts them up for a couple of hours. They just love playing it together. It's great fun. Good on them. And then it becomes a problem. Yeah. And then they go, no, we're going to take that away now. Now we've got a child going through withdrawal. Like, instantly. It just starts going through withdrawal. It's wild.
But I think what parents don't appreciate is the online community that there is with video games now.
Right. You're advocating on the side of, which has its problems as well.
It totally has its problems, but they think that their memory of video games or computer games, their understanding is more of a human to machine type interface, and you're just syncing all your time with the machine. Right. It's not
like a television.
Exactly. It's like way more multidimensional than that. Is that there's actually humans that you can be dealing with on the other side, and there's friendships and
correct.
And
I actually went out for chicken with a bloke who I've been playing video games with for probably 5 years. Never met him in real life. Met him in real life. Great dude. Good to meet him. All that sort of jam. And one of our friends is actually moving over to the other side of the country. And one of the points that I made is, isn't it great that we all sort of jam the same sort of video games, because there'll be opportunities for us to hang out sometimes on a nightly basis, where you hang out with them every couple of nights. Now, what other activity can you hang out with casually, your friends, for a couple of hours any night of the week? It does not exist. Unless you go to the movies or you're going out, of course. But you'd have to go out a lot to get this level of social output.
Totally. It connects people.
Yeah,
so
and
once you have Neuralink, so let's say we both have Neuralink. Say we both have, for now, we would both have to have, heaven forbid, spinal cord injuries.
Right, they're not offering it as a sort of enhancement thing. It's purely for improving people's lives at this point who need it.
Yes,
it's not for you and me yet. But once it is for you and me,
medical purposes rather than commercial.
Right. So we're not going to get spinal cord injuries, hopefully. So let's just say it's up for grabs. Anyone can grab it.
Actually, when I say not commercial, it can still be commercial when they're using it for medical purposes. I mean, not recreational is probably what I should say, that it's for medical reasons rather than recreational.
It's not for augmenting enhancements.
But once we both have it,
right?
Do we even have to, you know how we set this up and, I don't know if people know, but I'm talking to you online, so I can see your face, you can see my face. I love you, you love me, all that jam, right?
Yeah.
Now, can we just connect with our Neuralink capabilities?
Look,
and can we just speak to each other telepathically? It'd probably make for a shorter episode, wouldn't it?
I'll
just download all the things I'm thinking of to you.
Yeah, very quick. We just look at each other and, it would just happen. But I think that's further down the track. I think what they're talking about now is obviously interfacing people with technology that already exists. Now, your thing requires new technology, which is sort of this live brain dumping thing that you're talking about. I think that's got big problems, obviously. I think it's got no big problems, say, 80 years from now. If the tech came in today and it was compulsory, it'd be a very tumultuous 80-odd years where people would just some people would just, not cope very well in a brain dumpy world.
Now, what happens if we're brain dumping with each other?
Cool.
So this is a one-on-one brain dump.
It has to be consensual. Like you'd have to click on my name. I'd have to click
sign
on
a
your
waiver.
name.
I'd have to
It
sign a
says
waiver,
like, hey, are you sure you want to be brain dumping with this person? Because it can't just be like, yeah, start a brain dump and it's just open.
There's no ring fencing of things that you're dumping either. In terms of, it's kind of, you get the whole kit and caboodle, which is a bit scary.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, what happens? So this is a 1v1 now. What happens if we sign up to the social media of brain dumping?
Oh, boy.
And we're just like one consciousing it now. And we're just all like, let's just throw all our consciousness in together and see what happens.
So what you're saying is kind of like now, just more efficient?
It's like social media, but far more efficient.
Yeah, it is like now, but it's much more efficient and much more, I dare say, honest.
And I'm exposed to all the ideas at once rather than just the ideas that the algorithm is sort of directing me to.
Nah, I think that would still be a thing.
Probably still would be, yeah. Because there would still be limited bandwidth. It's not like my Neuralink will be able to process all the data
back when
at once.
Yeah, back when the internet first sort of began, it was email, it was this, it was that, but there was these chat rooms, right? And you'd sign up for as an account and you'd have a chat, you'd go into a chat room, right? And that was pretty insane at the time. It was because all that you'd been able to do up until that point in human history was phone call with another person. And you could actually, if you knew how to, you could get group calls going on your telephone at home, your little home phone. You could get group chats going.
Star three.
Also, you can do that with, mobile phones and stuff. It's all the tech's there. So when you could be able to talk to multiple different people from multiple different sort of ideas, and you're joining a chat room, you'd be like joining Perth's chat room or something like that at the time, right? That's what you'd be doing with your Neuralink brain dumping. You'd be like, just join this room. And so that's where you'd form your little social bubbles, just like we do now. You're a member of this group and you're a member of this group. You don't just want to dump with the universe. That's scary. It's going to be wild.
It reminds me, actually, there was some homework that I was assigned that I unfortunately have not completed.
Jeepers. Are you talking about 3-body problem?
Yeah, I haven't finished it.
You didn't finish it?
I'm in
How much have you seen?
Episode 7 or 8.
Jeepers.
So I can talk up to that point, but I don't know. Yeah. And the reason why this came to mind is because we're talking about futuristic technologies.
It's one of the reasons I thought you'd enjoy the show.
There's a lot of them in there, isn't there?
Futuristic ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you where I'm at.
Okay.
And I'm not familiar with.
Give me some, because we did say we were going to go there today. We did say that we were going to do it. I've had a couple of people tell me that they've watched the whole series.
Yeah, okay. And we did.
I think it's because we said we're going to spoil it. Now,
the spoiler.
We are going to have some spoilers here. So if you're not interested, you don't give a shit, or you don't even want to hear us talk about 3-body problem, or you plan on watching it, there is a spot in the description below where you can skip to the next segment. Just skip
get
it
out
now.
Of here.
Don't even stay. Do not stay if you have any interest in watching the show.
And I'd recommend you do as well.
I recommend it's quite a good show. Yeah. So if you don't want any of that, there's the warning. All right, Nate, give us some 3-bod problem.
Okay, I'm not going to take you through it. Bits and pieces will come up.
Yeah, just tell me what you thought.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know the names of the characters, which is pretty standard for me.
We can just say one of the guys.
Well, it's such a diverse. It's such a they got the diversity of the Artemis 3 mission, so you can kind of say like the African American guy, the Asian chick. There's the Asian police officer. So it's quite easy to actually distinguish. You don't really need the
Davos
names.
From.
Yes, there is Davos.
Davos.
I didn't realize it was. Yeah, you told me there was a bunch of Game of Thrones characters.
So how many are there? Because
I'm
is
not
there
good
more
with
than
that stuff.
2?
I'm not good with this stuff.
Because Samwise Gamgee's in it, right? You know what I mean by Samwise Gamgee?
Yeah. Okay.
Talking about like Sam from. Is he called Sam in Game of Thrones? What's his fucking name in Game of Thrones? He's like Jon Snow's
because
best
he's
bud on the
died.
wall.
Yeah. The Night Watchman guy. Yeah, I don't know what his name is in that.
Is his name Sam?
He
'Cause I always just
has
called him
passed away.
yeah.
Obviously, that happens pretty early on. Jack Rooney was his name in Three Body Problem.
Oh, you just told us straight about.
Yeah,
you haven't said anything. You haven't said anything about the show yet. You've just gone. Anyway, this guy's dead. Well, that's got nothing to do with the story.
This is just where I'm up to as well. So I haven't really pieced it all together. It's all happening like there's a lot going on. So
yeah, but just give us your best shot, brief summary, not of where you're up to.
No, there's no summary. There is no.
What are you talking about? It's
there's
easy.
Summary, is it easy? Okay,
it's easy.
Where to start? There's an alien civilization on its way to Earth.
Yeah.
To wipe us out.
Well, so a little bit deeper than that. It turns out the WOW signal that they detected in the 70s or some shit, where it was like the best chance we've got at like an actual attempt at alien communication.
A signature, yeah.
This Chinese lab, they picked it up, and a chick sort of takes it upon herself to invite them. Well, actually, it's actually funnier than that because the response they get is hang up the phone, essentially.
Yeah, don't respond or...
Don't respond or we'll fuck you up. We'll come over there. And they essentially go, she sort of makes the decision for the human race and says, nah, just come. We're not worth saving. Like, get over here. We need to be
she's pretty butthurt about what's been going on in China. Her father, who's a scientist, has been like, beaten to death with a shoehorn or something. And
sure,
she's pretty upset about it.
Yeah, so there are sort of aliens on the way. Some of them are chatting to him like through a Pope sort of system where they've got the phone to God, but they piss off God one day, and there's a whole bunch of stuff.
It's very culty.
Right?
It's very culty. I know, this is what I mean. Where you said like give a summary, I'm like, where you could go as broad as you. So they're floating around on a boat called Judgment Day, and it's ridiculous. And I don't want to go too ridiculous because you'll put people off in a way. Because it sounds...
But it's really good, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And then, okay, it actually sounds dumber and dumber. The more I try to put it into words, it's going to sound so far-fetched and ridiculous. Yeah. But they do take some cool scientific concepts and integrate them into the show. Yeah. And a lot of things we've talked about before very poorly on our show.
Yeah, go on.
And so one of them is that the Santee, that's the name of the alien civilization that's purportedly coming to Earth, is 400 years away at this point, traveling at 1% of light speed, I think. They believe it is. And so they decide that this is I don't really know where this is going. They decide, the Earthlings decide, we're going to send, we'll get into it, we're going to send someone, we're going to propel them towards the Santee fleet.
What for?
I don't really know yet. It's like to give them a flavor for what we are in a way or something like that. I don't know. So, and we'll get into the mechanics of that. But in terms of accelerating the spacecraft, we've talked about before. Recently, humans achieved their fastest known, the fastest speed of any human-made object when we spun it around the sun for like the 7th time, doing some slingshot type orbit. And I think we got it. We did the calculation. We got it to like 0.006% of light speed or something like that. It's negligible. If you're trying to go anywhere, you're not going to get anywhere anytime soon. So, and we'll put into perspective the idea of interstellar space travel is just sort of not in the realms of possibility at the moment. So to get this bloke or this person to the Santee fleet to sort of intercept them, they're going to do a series of, they're going to put him in a spacecraft that has some kind of
is crazy
sail. Yeah.
But in my mind, when they talked about this concept, and by the way, he's about to go into sort of this nuclear propulsion idea, which is give me all the nukes on Earth and let me propel the spacecraft with it. Now, in my mind, because I'm an idiot who doesn't work at NASA, it's just a whole bunch of nukes in the back of the ute, and you just sort of flip one off and it goes, and then it propels you, and then you flick another one off the back and it propels you. That's not the plan. That wouldn't work at all. Okay, so what they need to do is put the nukes in space already and evenly space them apart and time the detonations. And it's with that sail as well. You were going to talk about that.
So the spacecraft, as it goes past the nuke, it explodes and continues. And it's a series of, I think, 1,000 nuclear explosions, each one accelerating the craft more and more and more.
And what
towards,
speed would they get to?
They're getting to 1% of light speed as well.
Wow, 0.1%, or is it?
Was it? I think it was 1%. I think they were trying to get to 1%.
Yeah, okay, cool. And that did it.
Well, they say theoretically their math
they
suggests
think it
will
will
work. Yep.
Great.
And we have experimented with this before using
Have we?
nukes. Yeah, out the back of a spacecraft, using the explosion of a nuke to propel a spacecraft. I don't know if we only did it theoretically, or if we actually we've exploded nukes in outer space, but I don't know if we had anything
There's
there.
no other example of this, is there? Something like the most complex thing we can do: chuck it out the back of the ute, set it off. Like,
well,
I agree that it's probably a better use for them than dropping it on a city.
Yeah, well,
I think this is a much better use for them.
Both the US and Russia have 6,000 nukes each, so it probably is a good use for them. And then, so what they're doing is, because mass is so important, you have to keep the mass low to be able to accelerate this thing closer to the speed of light.
You want a box or something, a tiny box.
Tiny box. I understand they're just sending someone's brain. Is that right? This is where I'm at the moment. The bloke, the sort of more generic kind of white man who's dying of cancer, who's the main protagonist, it seems.
I don't think he's the main protagonist.
He's one of the main ones. I mean, he's the one whose brain is being sent to the Santee.
That's true.
So, I mean, he's kind of...
He's up there. He's a principal. He's a principal.
But he's dead now. He's dead now. He's signed...
But they've got his brain.
He signed a waiver, and they seem to be putting his brain into a little bit of a cooling unit. So they can't send the whole body, despite them having figured out how to cryogenically freeze and revive an ape.
Okay, they can do that.
Because his body's just too heavy.
Right.
So I think they're just sending the brain and they're like hoping this advanced alien civilization will be able to figure the rest out when they intercept the brain.
And the plan is? Give him the brain?
Give him the brain. Just send the brain their way, and they'll just scoop it up.
I mean, I like this show. They often think about the science behind stuff. So you've got an object traveling at 1% the speed of light. You've got an object traveling towards that object, 1% speed of light. How does a pickup occur at these kind of speeds? Aren't we talking
it's hilarious. They're putting this plan into action. And one of the scientists goes, how are we going to decelerate this brain?
Right. What did they say?
I don't think they said it. I think they were like, the Santee will figure it out. They're more advanced.
There's a lot of that going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. They'll figure it out.
But it actually reminds me of what we've talked about a million times before. So Earth encounters their technology being this quantum entangled, expanded helium proton. Like, it makes no fucking sense. Who knows? Who this guy who was writing this book, this Chinese bloke, was just smoking so much dope when he wrote it. So
what about
he's
the virtual
entangled
reality sort of elements?
That's pretty cool as well.
Pretty early in the piece, they find these weird
advanced technology,
virtual reality goggles that you put on. It makes you feel like you're there. You can taste the earth and shit. Pretty wild stuff.
That's pretty cool. That hasn't come up again. I think that's how the Santee were kind of. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I can't remember the relevance of that. Were they learning about humans somehow?
I think there'd be a bit of that. Yeah.
There's a bit of that going on. So I sort of forget how all the pieces fit together, but I'm enjoying it as it goes along.
But the show is called The Three Body Problem, right?
Yes. So they might be trying to, I think where they're, fuck me, I don't know. I think where they live, there's three, their planet is orbiting in amongst three suns.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's not good, is it?
So are they in a period of stability, or they're trying to solve this three-body problem, which is unsolvable, apparently?
And that's what the VR goggles are for, because people are met with these challenges of like, I don't know, help these people. It's like, help them from the fact that you guys live in a shit neighborhood of the solar system. Like, there's three suns. It causes massive problems. So when they go into a period of instability, when it goes through a period of instability, it's all hell. Like, gravity's shifting and fire and earthquakes and all sorts of shit. So it's not good living there. So they go through periods where they're our civilization, I think, gets about, a good 20,000, 12,000 years before anything really bad happens that could potentially make us go back to square one, right? Is that fair? Or would you think it'd be more than that? Do you think every 12,000 or 16,000 years are we rolling the dice?
When you look back over the cataclysmic events that have happened over the last, I think it's 200,000 years, Randall Carlson will suggest that there is around 10 events that have happened that would have significantly diminished the human population to a low number. And we know genetically that apparently there's been these bottlenecks in civilization where one time there was as few as 5,000 human beings that survived and propagated.
You know how I like to talk about the whole lost civ thing, but I always take it a step further. I talk Atlantean shit with it, right? I literally think a lot of the like ancient cultures that kicked around were influenced or had been visited by people who were essentially refugees from their homeland after one of these devastating encounters. And what I think about is as you get more complex as a civilization, and I'm using today as an example, we've got cities, spires into the sky, we've got space programs, we've got computer systems, we've got the internet, we got TV shows like the Three Body Problem. We got a whole bunch of shit going. If you, me, and the boys that we went to high school with, and let's say our brothers and sisters, all the people we know are the survivors, and we come across another civ and we're like, hey, we're here to impart some knowledge because we're from a place where there's like big cities that stretch into the sky and space programs and shit. We'd be fucking useless because I think the part of it is that we're so specialized now, everyone would be getting together going, so what do you do? And you're like, I don't know, like nothing to do with food. What about you? Nothing to do with food either. All right, well, we're already a bit screwed. Fuck your space program. We have eating issues. Or the
I know a little bit.
In.
Yeah, totally. I know a little bit about corporate law in Western Australia.
Great.
Yeah, do you reckon that would be useful?
I can hook up a TV, I could do something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you.
Anyway, my point is that they are experiencing a much faster turnaround in these cataclysmic events, and that's what's causing their civilization to both they seem quite advanced, but they're under this constant threat that they'll have to reset again.
I mean, they're so advanced. Why are they reaching out to this less advanced culture in the humans trying to solve the three-body problem? Because I'd heard of the three-body problem before. When I saw the concept adverts for this, I was like, I understand it to be some unsolvable thing because I kind of like those unsolvable things.
Why is it unsolvable?
I just chucked into ChatGPT just for this is my understanding. It's not my understanding. This is what I'm reading. The three-body problem is a classical problem in physics and astronomy that involves predicting the motion of three celestial bodies based on their initial positions, velocities, and mutual gravitational interactions. Unlike the two-body problem, which can be solved with precise mathematical formulas, the three-body problem does not have a general analytical solution. Instead, it is often solved using numerical methods and computer simulations. Well, there you go, computer simulations. Let's just get a really good computer, right?
Yeah, you can probably do it in Universe Simulator, like really easily. But I think they would just crash into each other. But you'd have to set the orbits and stuff. You'd have to actually set it all.
Yeah, and so I think when it's so obviously it's a planet and two suns. I thought they might have three suns, I was just thinking of three-body. But the problem is two suns and a planet.
I thought it was three.
I don't know, actually.
I think it's three.
I think you'd still have a problem if you had two suns and a planet because that's still a three-body problem.
I don't know if maybe the planet doesn't count as a body.
It would. I mean, it's exerting gravity. I'm not 100% on that, to be honest. So chaos, and so there's one little thing here. Okay, example. Consider the sun, earth, and moon as a three-body problem.
Great.
The sun's gravity affects both the earth and the moon, and the earth's gravity affects the moon. Predicting the precise motion of the moon involves accounting for these interactions. What's crazy is I have a map up here that predicts the position, time, not just the position. I'm talking about the width of the shadow cast by the moon over Australia for the next 100 years. That's all computer simulation, of course, but it would be super accurate as well. I mean, and
Obviously.
so
it's just
maybe
maths, isn't it?
it's just maths. Maybe that when you have bigger bodies, it's more chaotic and harder to predict, maybe.
I mean, I've seen some of the VR missions they've done in that show. That sun is way too close sometimes. It just gets too fucking close. It's bound to be a big problem. I'm wondering how they haven't worked this out when they've worked out so much. I think I've seen a solution where you hollow out the planet like a donut and you get a sun to pass through the center of the Earth. What do you think about that?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that.
You got to hollow out an Earth, though. There wouldn't be much left. Hey, have you heard my latest idea?
Once you put the hole, you dig it out. You're not going to be ejecting the matter. You just dig it out and it'll be on the outside. So like the Earth would get fatter.
Oh, right. Wider at this base.
So you actually have more surface area because a sphere is the most efficient way of, it's the least surface area. As you hollow it out to a donut, there's way more, although the volume will be the same, the surface area will be way more. So we'll be able to build more, skyscrapers. More stuff.
More stuff. Chuck
more
it up.
Football fields.
Yeah.
More places for dumping garbage.
Yes. Yes. Yes to all. Tick, tick, tick. Hey, I had a great idea the other day.
Yeah.
First step, just got to knock this out real quick. Get the Dyson sphere up.
What about it? We're just knocking
one
up
there.
now. Yeah, get one up.
Get one up there. That's
is this to solve? Okay, step one.
No.
Okay,
this is just for fun. I want to just tell you my fun idea. This is my fun idea.
As much energy from the sun as you can get.
Yeah, we're going to build a structure around the sun which takes all that energy, and then guess what?
What are you going to do with all that energy?
Drive the sucker. Drive it. That's the plan. Drive it wherever.
How do you drive? I guess.
How do you drive
you have
it?
Enough energy.
You just pop a thing on the back. I mean, I hate to do it, but step 2, pop a thing on the back.
Yeah.
A little motor. You've got energy.
Feed that energy in.
At the beginning, when you build the Dyson sphere, that energy ain't doing anything. It's not doing anything. It's not powering a TV. It's not powering anything. So the first thing you do is you pop something on the back. Now we're floating. Now we're going. Now we're on the move. There's got to be some alien spacecraft out there that's core is a sun. I mean, that's just inevitable.
It is inevitable, but this goes back to the 3-body problem. They talk about Fermi's paradox. And
I like this.
It's premised around Fermi's paradox. We've discussed a lot on the show, and essentially, it's where is all the alien life in the universe? If the universe is
it's
infinitely
teeming
large,
with life,
and planets like Earth are not uncommon.
Yes,
there are billions upon billions of planets like Earth. Then it's naive to assume that we're so special that life and intelligent life would have only occurred once. And there's Fermi's. There's actually the Drake equation where you plug in all the figures and you realize, yes, life is extremely unlikely, or the conditions for life are extremely unlikely. But when you times that by how many Earth-like planets there are shitloads of life statistically. Yeah.
And just to throw a number out there for fun, and this could be way off, but there could be 1 million planets in our galaxy that have something going on. It might not be where we're at though.
And when you just throw arbitrary numbers around there, it's hard. It's easy just to think, oh, well, that's just an arbitrary number and it might not be right. But they've now established that statistically most stars have planets. And that wasn't known until our lifetimes. We hadn't actually detected one star that had a planet because we didn't have the technology to do so.
It was a big deal when we're like, oh my God, it's another planet.
But our galaxy has approximately 200 billion stars.
Yeah.
So let's say that on average they all have one planet, which is completely underestimating how many planets there are, but let's be super conservative.
Sure.
There's 200 billion planets in our galaxy alone. Planets, that's just planets of different varieties. But I'm just saying that's you get a scale.
That's
when you
minimum
say
planets in the neighborhood.
Minimum planets in the neighborhood, and there's hundreds of billions of neighborhoods.
So just for context though, you could have a star that has one planet. You could have a star system that has 9 planets, or 8 planets like us.
Whatever we have.
You could have another star system that has 10 planets or 4 planets.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably better to even, but I'm just saying, super conservative because it's just 1 to 1. Yeah. So so there's 200 billion planets, let's just say, conservatively in our neighborhood. So when you say there's 100 million planets like ours, I mean, it sounds like a big number, but that is 0.0. It's less than.
I said a million actually. I didn't even say 100 million.
Yeah, exactly. 100 million is a small amount compared to 200 billion.
Totally.
It's 1,000. It's divide by 2,000.
It's wild.
So it's like that's you're saying 1 in every 2,000 planets in our galaxy. If that's the statistics you gave, might be useful to life.
Which and it might not be right now.
Obviously,
it could have been before. It could have been. So that's another problem that you add into this paradox is the fact that you've got to be able to send the signal, which has only been in the last sort of 50 years of our history, maybe a bit longer, but to send interstellar signals, let's say 60, 70 years maximum. So we've only been able to do it for 70 years. That means we got to send a message or receive a message in the last 70 years. That's almost impossible.
Oh, no. We've only been emitting radio waves since – when did radio waves come about? Recently. Let's say –
What are you saying that a distant species of something could detect our radio waves from back then and that's the minimum? Is that the minimum time?
That is the minimum.
That's the minimum detection time.
For radio waves, which I'm assuming that civilizations get to a certain point of advancement and they discover radio waves. And then they're producing radio waves which are detectable, traveling at light speed away from the planet. So we could be setting off a beacon. We are. But
only since the 60s or the 70s did we actually start beaming out and going, yo, we're actually down here. We're starting to send up golden records going, here's our home planet. This is what we sound like. Here's how to destroy us. So when we became outward reaching only in the last sort of 50 to 60 odd years.
Yes, and some people are terrified about this. Like the SETI project is the search for terrestrial.
Yeah, you've seen them in movies such as Independence Day. You've seen them in Independence Day. You probably saw them in 3 Bods. I'm sure at one point they popped up. Look, SETI. They're out there. They're throwing out signals.
Some people have a big problem with this, which ties into the 3-body problem. Same thing. You have someone that's sort of actively. This is a bit far fetched because you're actively communicating with them. Which, as you said, let's say they're going to be definitely millions of light years away. Or no, when I say millions of light years,
they work that out.
Yeah,
I don't know how they work that out.
Like communicating with them isn't actually even on the cards, but detecting them or them detecting us is likely. Mm-hmm. And I've always said that we'll encounter aliens tech before we encounter the aliens.
That's true.
And the same, if we find aliens first, we're going to find them with probes of ours. There's no freaking way that the first thing to come,
we're going to set foot on another
send
planet
a human
and go,
out there and go,
God.
and there it is, set eyeballs on. We're going to detect it. We're going to detect it through our
and likewise
gear.
They would too.
Totally. And this comes into something that I found interesting about 3-body problem, which relates to the Fermi paradox. And it's one proposed solution to the Fermi paradox, which is essentially, if life is so common and the universe is infinite, then and life expands to fill all the available niches. This is how life works on our planet. If you've noticed it, just kind of, works
finds
to
a way,
finds
Jeff
a way,
Goldblum.
and we may have got here via a meteor that has some, bacteria on it that
I
crashes
think that's
into
where the mushrooms came from. I don't think that's where you and me came from, but I think that's where the mushrooms came from.
Well, life. It could be any form of life, and once you have a form of life there, it evolves. It's this inevitable progression towards something better.
Yes.
Evolution's just
or nothing.
Yeah,
not everyone makes
evolution
it.
just seems but
And
it will
in order
change.
for evolution
it's
to
a
work,
slow process
there's a
of
whole
change.
bunch of stuff that
Natural
can't
selection
work.
occurs.
Yeah, of course.
Until you get the best possible thing.
Wow, arguable.
Yeah, a thing.
I mean, was it? Who was telling me about the frogs that like break their own bones to stab you with them?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so like there's a frog, when it gets scared, it snaps its own legs, pokes it through the skin like Wolverine, and jabs you with it when it's really
that's
threatened.
Badass.
And it also does this thing with its fingers where the fingers come out 90 degrees, the bones, and then they can attack with it like Wolverine. Why are we talking about that?
That's epic. Oh, it's evolution. But obviously that must have given it a selective advantage, that frog.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone came up to me in the street, in like a dark alley, and was going to rob me, and I broke my forearm and stuck my bone through my arm, I'd scare them off. I don't know. It would kind of put me at a disadvantage when I'm going back to work. Yeah. Those frogs probably just repair their bones or something really easy. Or
You'd
maybe
hope so. Otherwise, they're just fucked.
Yeah, but there's this Berserker hypothesis, which is this proposed solution to why is it so quiet out there? And it's the idea that
there's a few solutions to the problem.
Yes, there are a few. This is just one proposed solution. Yeah,
Berserker one.
Yeah, Berserker hypothesis. So the idea that humans haven't detected alien life, intelligent alien life, should I say, in the universe because it's been systematically destroyed by a series of lethal von Neumann probes. And von Neumann, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's this mathematician that worked on the atomic bomb and stuff. He's apparently known as being a complete brain.
I didn't even think about this. Yeah, go on.
And so his theory is a von Neumann probe is basically a spacecraft that's capable of self-replicating itself.
Okay,
so imagine that a species gets so advanced that maybe even you create AI, and the AIs, because that's where we're heading. They
punch into ChatGPT. How do we do this?
And the AI decides
ChatGPT goes, this is the best way to do it.
To continue to have an infinite supply of energy and to not be prohibited from achieving my goals by other life, whether intelligent life, what I'm going to do is I need to make sure I suppress any other life that starts developing, because if it gets to a certain point, it could start to challenge me. There'll be a threat. National security issue. So what we do is when we have some probes out there that are capable of self-replicating, where they can get resources and energy and make more of themselves. And when we detect signs of intelligent life, we just start shooting. We just shoot the place up and self-destruct.
Right.
So there's not a lot of these probes aren't. I don't really know. I don't know what they're doing.
Well,
but anyway.
for example, right, humans dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? They dropped them from planes, but you wouldn't do that today because we have intercontinental ballistics missiles, which are basically just NASA rockets with an explosion at the end, a proper one. We'd be doing that into space. Like if we detected someone who, let's say we're at the point where we're like, look, we're going there in a few years. Look, they've got a couple of little cities, I'll call them, that, maybe their skyscrapers go to 15 stories, max. But that's it. They're doing okay. We've detected their radio waves ages ago. And look, we think it's probably a good idea to do a first strike because it's going to take us like 70 years to get there anyway. So we're just going to nuke it now.
Yeah, nuke it now. So they don't cause
what
a
I'm
problem
saying
later.
is that how we would do it is we'd be like, make a probe. This is what we would do today if we had to. Make a probe, Stargate style, put a nuke on it. And just send it over there before we even touch it.
And that the probe only needs to be capable of
Oh yeah.
replicating itself so it can spread itself through the wherever, just so it's
You're talking
covering
about
the field.
the Berserker thing.
Sorry, the Berserker thing. Sorry,
But
I'm
just talking about what we would do if we were berserking. If we were the berserkers with current tech, we don't have a self-replicating computer that can suck up energy and shoot up the place and explode.
Now, what happens if this? What happens if we get more advanced? So the probe is purely out there detecting signs of life. When it detects a radio signature in its neighborhood, it starts manufacturing the means of destruction. Because it programmed into itself.
Or you'd enslave them, right? Like Battlefield Earth, Stargate. It's one or the other.
It depends what its goals are.
It would be like purely, it would be like us getting a bit worried that, a bit Planet of the Apes-y. We're a bit worried that the gorillas might start picking up tools and figuring out that they're being kept in cages. It's a bit like that.
Give them a million years. I mean, how long did we take to evolve? Like, I mean, Homo erectus.
Yeah, but they're not getting a chance to evolve. Years. They're being fed every day.
Yeah, no, but what happens if let's put some apes on a planet? This could be how we started, maybe through, let's say we put some apes on a planet somewhere, given a couple million years, and they could actually start to become a problem because they evolve into another form of intelligent life like us, another intelligent type ape. They start making, they could make
it is a different way to, send our seed out there as a planet, That is pretty wild.
Yeah. So there's a guy here he's an astronomer called David Brin, and he summarizes, he's got this paper called The Great Silence that he wrote in 1983, and he summarizes the frightening implications of the Berserker hypothesis. He says it's entirely compatible with all the facts and logic of the Fermi paradox, but it would mean that there exists no intelligent life left to be discovered. In the worst case scenario, so that means that these machines kill all intelligent life just haphazardly to not have any competition. Mm-hmm. So it says, in the worst case scenario, humanity has already alerted others to its existence and is next in line to be destroyed. And that's why we don't see it. This is the hypothesis. It's not saying
the reason we don't see them is because they don't want us to see them.
Because they get destroyed by the berserkers.
Yeah. And then there's another solution, which is the dark forest one, right? Which is they're aware of us, but they don't want to disturb us, or you can't see very far. They can't see very far. You don't just want to bump into something, so they're keeping their distance,
they could exist, but they stay silent.
We know where you are. When you're not fucking on our level, keep plugging away. We're not worried about you. I actually get the feeling like there's another solution, and that's sort of similar to the dark forest, but there's competing alien species. Let's say there's an inter-universal conglomerate of species which are all on the same team. It's like the universe UN, right? It's the UN, and all of these aliens are signatories of it, and they're going, look, we protect lower, like how we would protect
rare animals, certain animals. Some of them we don't give a fuck about, but others we do.
Conservation in general. Conservation.
Yes.
No one has a claim to this. We're Antarctica. Earth is like Antarctica. You can't claim it. It's not up for grabs, Yep. And so they're all like, no, we protect that. And maybe there's a baddie out there. Maybe there's a couple of alien baddies out there who, if they wanted to come and fuck with us, the UN... It would come in and pew them, and we'd get an intergalactic space battle. Just
or send them a fine. If they wipe us out, they get like a littering fine or something.
Surely
something. They go, hey, pay a couple of billion, whatever, light dollars or whatever they call them. Fine them a couple of suns worth of energy.
Coins. Yeah. I think that's entirely possible, that we're sort of not being protected, but in a way, they know we're here. Everyone knows we're here. Like, no big deal. Like, we're sending out these little, ping, we're here, like little ping, and they're like, yeah, we know, loud and clear, ping. Like they're if their shit's way above ours, it's be like us showing them Pong and being like, how cool is this? And they go, nah, man, I just finished Grand Theft Auto 6, so I don't really give a shit about Pong. Anyway, we're transmitting. We may have received something a long time ago. It was the best shot they had. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's hope that it's not a bad we're not going to get wiped out, right? That's always a good hope.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to think about why it is so, I guess, quiet. Now that we can look and we do look.
It's inevitable, right? That we're going to find some radio signals, right?
Well,
it's inevitable.
No, it's inevitable unless there's something like the Berserker hypothesis out there.
Why
that is suppressing. So let me just read this quote from David Brin.
Because if the Berserkers are out there, because they're systematically executing civilizations as they come up, the only detectable sieve is the origins of the Berserkers, and they may not even exist anymore.
Yeah, they may not exist because
just the machines might exist.
Yes, and they might be silent, or some. I don't know about that. But anyway, so it says here, there's no need to struggle to suppress the elements of the Drake equation in order to explain the Great Silence. Nor need we suggest that no intelligent aliens anywhere would bear the cost of interstellar travel.
True.
It need only happen once for the results of this scenario to become the equilibrium conditions of the galaxy. Wow. We would not have detected extraterrestrial radio traffic, nor would any intelligent aliens have ever settled Earth, because all were killed shortly after discovering radio.
Well, that's convenient, isn't it? When did he write that?
This is just a hypothesis. It's not. He's not saying this.
But how long have we got? We've done radio. We're chucking stuff out. It's only been.
Let's say it's been 100 years.
Right.
That's not that we haven't in the scale of the universe.
Right.
If you put that as a percentage.
Yeah.
Radio waves have only been emitting, or electromagnetic spectrum, a signature that would detect, that would suggest intelligent life, has only traveled. How many of them, like, let's say it's 100, let's just say it's 100 years. I don't know when we discovered the radio or when we were doing something that would be detectable. But if it's 100 years.
If the signals got sent and they're like, we're on the way.
It's only been 100 light years. Yeah. Now, our neighborhood, let's look at our neighborhood. So you should know this from that song that you sing all the time off.
Yeah, our galaxy contains 100,000 light years side to side.
So it's 100,000. So we have only done 100.
So if they're on the other side of the Milky Way.
So we haven't even done 1%.
Let's be conservative. Let's be conservative again. Let's say they're in our galactic neighborhood, and they're 10,000 light years away. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've only done 100. So we've only covered 1% of that distance so far. So there could be a signal that is. So if there's a probe in our galaxy, it still might take another couple of 10,000 years,
20,000 years.
It could be 100,000 years.
It could be more.
Yeah, it depends how often the probes, how many probes are in the.
It depends.
But it would know. It would know how many they need to have to make sure they're blanketing enough area that if something does arise, that they will detect it and destroy it before it's had sufficient time to, on average, to develop past radio and
it doesn't really work, mate.
AI.
It doesn't really work.
Let's say there's
because 100 years after we discovered radio waves, we've invented computers. We're traveling interstellarly, not really, but we've chucked stuff out there. We're going to be pretty damn advanced in another 10,000 light years, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Years.
So the probe
they
would
really
have
to hurry the fuck up.
Yeah, the probe would have to be.
That's assuming it can travel light speed as well.
You've got to remember that we have been intelligent, or we've been acting. We've been industrial for a bee's dick.
A bee's dick.
Okay, so we've just figured out. We've literally just split the atom yesterday. Yesterday. Okay. Yeah. So all they need to do is spread the probes out. Of course, if you're not going to do one probe every 10,000 years, 10,000 light years, because that is too much of a lead-in time to get developed. You would have to have them maybe every 500 light years or 200 light years, because and you can't travel light speed either. So my point is that it would, because it's self-replicating and presumably not sentient but smart enough to have constructed this in an optimal way, it will know what an approximate lead-in time is, where it will say, well, it's unlikely, life, because let's say it's killed, thousands of life forms before.
Sure.
It would know what the development trajectory is and how quick they get there.
You'd have an idea.
And so, 10,000 years is too long. I would agree. I'm going to guess that I reckon you'd have to, we've gone from bees dick to a form of AI that's kind of like, gives you cooking recipes and stuff in a pretty short amount of time. So I would say on that metric, we should start to get worried. If there is a Berserker hypothesis that does exist, I'd say that, the technology improvement is increasing at an exponential rate. So, we could give birth to AI pretty soon in the next couple of decades. So if the Berserker hypothesis is real, you would think that, something may have detected us and could be on the way. Could be a Santee situation.
Sure. But they're a while off.
Yeah, I doubt they're there. I hope they're not.
They're definitely there.
Oh, but I don't think they have Sinister. I think there's definitely aliens.
I reckon someone's running the Milky Way, and the next galaxy over, someone else is running that, and the next galaxy over, someone else is running that. We're just too low in the pecking order to even get a look in. We just can't even get a look in.
We could be. But I mean, that hypothesis is...
We could be new members if we get accepted. If they send the message down, they're like, look, we've been listening here for a while. If you want to get in the UN, now's the time. Otherwise, fuck off. We'll ignore you. We will ignore you if you want. But otherwise, this is your chance. Come on in.
See, these are all fun. But obviously, there's no evidence to support any of these. They're all just fun hypothesis.
Yeah.
Hypotheses. What's the plural of a hypothesis? Hypotheses?
I think hypotheses, yeah. Yeah, it's just fun.
Oh, it's really fun.
So where are you up to? Just before we get completely off that.
Okay, so the African-American nerd bloke, he's currently wearing a bulletproof suit.
Right.
And an autonomous car may have tried to kill him. And then someone he talked to also died.
Why is he wearing
I don't know.
Suit?
They're worried about him. The Asian police officer.
Yeah, who are like a policeman for the planet almost.
Yeah, is kind of
police.
Has got in contact with him, and he's worried for his safety. And it's all very high security at the moment.
Okay, is that and anything else?
I don't really know what they're doing exactly. So I think her name's Jin, the Asian nerd woman scientist. She is working on that nuclear acceleration issue.
And the other chick is working on the sail.
Yeah, but she's kind of just like an alcoholic that's pretty bummed about all her nanofibers slicing up that boat. Judgment Day.
Oh my God, how wild!
That was pretty wild. There are some pretty confronting scenes.
Yeah, I know.
In Three Body Problems. Pretty cool. Yeah, they're pretty intense.
Well, you should finish it and we'll get back to this. But officially spoilers ending now.
Okay.
But what else is going on, man? We talked about homework for a while and aliens and shit.
Yeah, I was loving it. Coming to
kill us, though.
Well, we've got our own kind of space missions actually going on here.
Yeah.
In Starship 4.
Day. Yeah, I watched the one the other day.
Oh, did you? Yeah, so that went pretty well, I hear. Did all the things Elon wanted to do.
All the nerds got excited about it on the live stream that I was watching. They always get really excited about it. It is their favorite day. Whatever you nerd out about the most, it could be anything. Could be ice cream makers, could be shoes, could be video games, could be all sorts of shit. These nerds get really excited about these rockets. And I think when it landed, when the booster landed, I think it fell into the ocean. Yeah, we lost that one.
Yeah, but they wanted that. They were always doing a splashdown, a soft splashdown.
Was that the plan?
So next time, apparently it went very well. Next time they're getting the chopsticks to catch super heavy. They've got these big chopsticks that catch it.
So it's going to land on its side?
No, it will land like the Falcon 9s, upwards.
Yeah.
Like it took off on its rockets. But they have these big chopsticks that,
and what do they do?
Grab it. They support it. When it lands, it grabs onto the
grabs them. That sounds more precise than just landing it on a drone ship.
Yeah, I think it's too heavy. What do they call the chopsticks? Elon's got a name for it.
They're too heavy? What are we doing, man? What are they doing? Bigger isn't better. How did we get to the moon before? Those Apollo, original OG rocket ships weren't that fucking big. They went to the fucking moon. What are we doing?
Have you seen that Smarter Every Day video? Have you watched that one?
We talked about it a lot, didn't we?
Did you see? Did you do your homework?
Did I watch it? I feel like I did watch it. I at least looked him up.
It's an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously very skeptical that because they haven't done the maths properly. Now they have done the maths. Turns out you got to chuck a whole bunch of boosters into orbit.
Yeah, 12 to 15 Starships.
Yeah. I mean, how does that work? Do you just stitch them together?
I don't want to think about it too much.
Do they just stitch them up? Do you just stitch them together and stage them off as you go?
No, you do a fuel transfer in orbit, which has never been done before.
Yeah,
They've never done to a craft.
One craft.
I think you essentially refuel it. Yeah, I think so.
How? That thing would have to be fucking massive.
No, but you see, each time you send up, because it's so, like, let's say you do a launch and you get a certain amount of stuff into space. You might only get 1,000 liters of fuel into space, but you spent 10,000.
Yeah, of course.
So in space, you're only getting this fraction of what you started with each time.
Oh, so he's
so you get, let's say it's
full.
No, there's like you just get it's just like with the little spacecraft that gets up there.
You want to get up there and siphon off all of the fuel tanks.
That's and fill up one. Yeah, fill up the big one.
It's a shit plan.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I hate it.
And you say, why are they doing it?
That's
so
like
do you know
a jerry can down the street and driving to it and then filling up your car?
Well, what it's like is you fill up your car with you got an 80-litre tank, you fill it with fuel, and you put a 20-litre jerry can in the back seat. You drive that car to Geraldton, you drop off the jerry can.
No, you put the jerry can. Now that you've run out of fuel, you put the jerry can in your car. And
No. You drive it out there and you drop the jerry can.
Okay. Yes.
And then you get another spacecraft in your car. You fill it up with fuel. You put a jerry can in the back. You drive that out. Now you've got you get 10 to 12 jerry cans sitting at Geraldton.
Beautiful.
And then you launch up the last one.
Yeah.
It gets up there. When you get in your sports car or whatever, you get out, you drive out to Geraldton. You got no petrol, right? But you need to get to Broome.
Yeah, you got to.
So you do the in orbit refueling of all the jerry cans, which has never been done.
Never been done before.
This is another challenge that Artemis 3 is looking at now. They're like, how the fuck do we do this?
It's going to be one of those things that they talk about in the future of space travel, like how Elon put the other day, where it's like flying a plane to the destination and then getting everyone to jump out before they get to the airport and then letting the plane crash into the ocean. That's what we've been doing with rocketry for the last 50 years. Why? And this is going to be one of those moments where you've literally been driving the jerry can out to Geraldton 10 times so that you can drive your sports car up and zip off with it. It's going to get talked about like that. It's going to feel so archaic one day. Right now, it feels like cutting edge technology absolutely required. One day it'll seem like we went backwards. Like we took a step back.
I think a different fuel source perhaps. But what they're doing now is the purpose we're doing Starship and the reason for its size being the largest rocket, it's 122 meters tall, 50-meter upper stage. So the super heavy booster must be 72 meters by process of deduction.
It's fucking madness.
So they're trying to make a fully reusable ship, which is a complete revolution of spacecraft, like you talked about.
Yeah.
And it's actually for colonization on Mars. That's its purpose, because they're using liquid oxygen and liquid methane as a fuel source, both of which can be sourced on Mars. And the moon, for that matter.
Yeah, but how many jerry cans do we have to throw into space to get?
This is the problem. So once you get to Mars, once you get to Mars, you get a spaceship there. You can create the fuel source you need on Mars to potentially return. Not that they're going to be doing a return anytime soon, but one day they're going to be using the same infrastructure to get there to get back. Because it's the same fuel source. So it's like driving to Broome and there's oil there or petrol or diesel, whatever the fuck your car runs on.
Yeah, but you're not going to drive there with zero fuel.
But I'm just saying in this analogy, you drive to Gero, you do
would we be doing that work? Would humans be doing that work on Mars to build the infrastructure?
That's the plan at the moment. But this is where I was going with it. So things are a bit delayed with Starship. I mean, the fourth launch went quite well, and Elon's planning to do another 6 test flights in the next 6 months if the authorities allow him to do it.
Yeah.
And each one's improved on the last.
He's got visions of like a Starship launch a day once it's running properly. He has visions of a Starship a day going up.
Well, we're
at the moment, it's like, I'll give you 6 every 6 months. We're just testing. You would have thought in like a testing scenario, you'd just be like, yeah, keep sending them up till we figure it out. Like,
it's causing a lot of damage to the environment.
Of course it is. We're launching up the biggest things ever.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. So they're regulating this stuff because it's
emerging technology.
Totally. But we don't regulate our AI though. We just let that go willy nilly. Don't worry about that.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine. Messing with the local flora and fauna.
Have you heard that the DearMoon mission's been cancelled?
Oh, it's been cancelled.
Yeah, the Japanese billionaire.
Yeah, who was going to fly Steve
Mazawa.
Aoki around the moon and a few other artists to get their ideas about it, change their worlds a bit,
do some art in zero G.
Yeah, look. Can't say I'm surprised. We talked about that a long time ago where the DearMoon mission was happening.
Because that was supposed to be happening end of last year. It's been cancelled. And it's been cancelled unilaterally by the billionaire. And all the artists some of the artists are pretty upset.
Oh, look at me. I didn't get my free space flight around the moon. Are you serious?
They're saying that they weren't consulted by the billionaire.
Of course they weren't consulted. He's done the maths. He's the one fronting the checks.
Well, they say if they were told that he could cancel this without giving them any warning, that they wouldn't have signed up in the first place. At least one of them says that. They had no knowledge of this possibility.
What do they want? What do you mean they had no knowledge of this possibility? What? That a moon mission wouldn't be approved? A moon mission, you idiot. Who is this person?
His last name Dodd. What's his first name?
Doesn't matter. Look.
He says. So he said the one thing.
I'd be upset too if someone said you can go for a little flyby around the moon and have a look out the window and do a painting if you want to. If someone offered me that, I'd say, yeah, I'm pretty keen. If he's turned around and said, yeah, look, man, the moon mission's not going to happen, I can't say I'd be like devastated or surprised.
Okay, so this is Adam Dodd. I don't know what his deal is, but quote, I understand the financial implications for MZ. That's Yusaku Mazawa.
Yep.
MZ. That's why he says that rather than his full name.
It's coming out
that this was costly. It was a generous dream, but the reality is that is all it was. To take it away so unceremoniously and with so little care to us, that undermines the stated mission values that we trust in. Apparently, he also commented on the project's optimistic timeline and lack of transparency, which we also commented on.
Of the DearMoon mission, right? Unless the motto is we're definitely going, and nothing is going to stop us, then I could understand why you don't think it's aligning with the values of the DearMoon mission. He thinks it's just money related. It might not be money related, It could be something else. It could be something completely different.
Adam goes on to say, the one thing I have a hard time reconciling is the timeline. Had I known this have ended within a year and a half of it being publicly announced, I would have never agreed to it. We had no prior knowledge of this possibility. I voiced my opinions even before the announcement that it was improbable for DearMoon to happen in the next few years.
So why is he getting all upset? He knew it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, really sorry your moon mission didn't work out, bro. Really sorry about that. It's really,
I suppose
really hard.
the one
I
thing
know that
is,
there are real problems down here as well on the planet that we actually have to deal with on a daily level. But, like really big problems. But I am really sad that whoever this guy is doesn't get his little moon flyby. Yeah, that really hurts.
The only thing I can think of, totally agree with you, is he might be orientating his life in a direction, but his art and and what he's planning on doing. He might have said no to other opportunities because he's like, no, guys, I'm going to the moon.
Sure. People like that in the Mars One program as well, who would have essentially given up on a lot of things and said, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm going to Mars.
So they may have been given not an ironclad promise, but they have been given the impression that this thing's going ahead. So they may have said no to, like, I'm not taking that sweet art gig. You know, there's so many of those going at the gallery or wherever, because I'm going to the moon. And I need to learn how to paint in zero G. So they could be flying around doing all these. These
they could be clearing their mind, clear my schedule, clear my mind. I'm going to the moon soon. I got to do some thinking about the moon. I'm going to spend the next 6 months to a year only thinking about the moon, because this guy, this billionaire, has said that we're definitely going on the flyby. I mean, literally the motto of the company is we're definitely going, and nothing is going to stop us, which isn't the motto of the company, whatever it is. But if it said, if the motto of the company was, we're trying, we really want to go, but financial problems and other issues may arise. It's not as awe-inspiring, but it might be a bit more closer to the truth.
Surely there was an asterisk there by MZ's legal team. A disclaimer, Moon Mission may not happen.
Yeah. Oh, and similarly, if the artists were fronting up cash for this, like to support it and stuff like that, then we've got a problem. Because
which was happening with Mars One.
Which was happening with Mars One. But consulting them if, of course, their money's on the line and stuff like that, that's a different issue entirely. And I'm not sure on the DearMoon mission. I thought it was just one guy funding the whole thing. It was essentially the biggest dick rich guy move I've ever seen, which is, what do you guys want to come with me and we'll go to the moon, bros? What do you reckon? Get in the back of my fucking rocket. We're going to the moon.
I'm going to take the poorest people I can find. 8 drudgy artists.
Yeah, some struggling artists. Yeah.
I'm going to take them to the moon, show them how we do it, show them how the billionaires live.
Yeah.
Getting all fucking palatial up here in our dome.
Because they were going to go up on a Starship. At least the launch mechanism was going to be a Starship.
Yeah, no, totally. That's one reason Starship delays is what he's cited as being the issue. He's like, Starship's
what's this guy getting upset about? Like, literally the hardware doesn't exist. The hardware does not exist. Do you want to go up on the thing? It's sort of in testing still. Do you still want to go up on the thing? I mean, they have to get 6 tanks into orbit to get to the moon, and that's presumably to land on the sucker. Do you need less or more to orbit it? Probably less.
And I'm calling it now. I'm just going to pick an arbitrary time. I don't think we're going to get to the moon before 2030.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say 2030. That's
like Trump or someone will promise boots on the ground.
You mean boots?
Yep. Boots. And what's going to happen is if we're not going to do it, then we might just bullshit it. And on 2029, we'll just pretend. We'll just get AI to pretend.
Wow. What a 60th anniversary of the moon missions that'll be.
I think I've solved the 3-body problem as well.
Oh, you did? Just in the background? The physics problem?
Yeah, the physics problem, because...
Not the show. You've solved the physics problem.
I've solved the physics problem, clearly. And it wasn't me, actually. It's someone on Earth. I don't know who, but someone solved it because, I was talking about before how we can predict the eclipse and the moon and the Earth and the sun is a 3-body problem. So in 2027, there's this thing called the eclipse of the century.
Cool.
And I'll tell you some facts about it. And it will prove to you that we must understand 3-body problems to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, I completely agree with you.
To a certain degree,
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, totally, because we just read the ChatGPT thing saying how it's an unsolvable problem. But the path of totality, they know what date it is.
Sure,
it's the 2nd of August, 2027.
Yes.
The path of totality will measure a maximum of 258 kilometers. So that's wide. So as it's streaking across the globe, it's going to the maximum width of the moon's shadow is going to be 258 kilometers, which is ginormous.
Yeah, but again, because we've been able to predict the sun's shadow, like is it bigger than a regular one?
Well, my point is that this is in 3 years' time, and we have down to, I reckon, that 258 kilometers. They wouldn't say it's 258 kilometers if it's going to be in a range of 220. Sure. They know down. They could probably go a lot more detail than that, and they're like, we're not going to fucking burden someone with it's going to be 258.951 kilometers, but they probably could.
Yeah.
Crosses Spain, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Somalia, and the Chagos Islands. It will bring the longest totality since 2009 and the longest totality on land since 91, peaking at 6 minutes and 23 seconds.
This is something that I think about, hey, because it seems like it's every 20-something years it's happening somewhere, right? And they're talking about in that area, aren't they? When they're saying 1991?
No, that's on land in the world.
In the world. So in terms of people seeing these over a lifetime, you can conceive that you may see one, right?
There's one coming over Perth. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like we're going to cop a couple, we've copped a few. It would
not a totality. I don't think we've copped a totality in our lifetime.
But even just a regular eclipse would be quite unworldly.
Cool. Yeah, totally.
It would be quite weird to experience if you don't understand it. Fuck you up. Like because we've got the tech where we can predict the shadow for the next 250 odd years. What happens after that? We don't know. But up until then, we can give you exact measurements on where the moon's shadow is going to be. But after that, we got a bit of problems. But 250 years, we can do that. So we, even as regular punters, we know that. So an eclipse, when someone goes, oh, did you know the eclipse is happening today? You can walk out and be like, oh, yeah, cool. It doesn't shock you. Oh, my God, what happened? It's midday, but everything went pitch black. Did you guys feel that?
If you had no idea.
That's the experience I would want. Yeah, it's like, holy fuck, what is this? I would think it's a very bad omen. Something bad's about to happen, like that's what you would think at the time.
We have to see it. One day we need to see a total eclipse. I mean, I'd love to go to the eclipse of the century, but going to Africa, North Africa, the Middle
Probably
East.
A good spot to watch it.
Yeah, well, it's going right over Luxor. Apparently that's one of the best places to watch it. You go to the Karnak complex there.
God, bro, that'd be awesome.
That would be really cool. And then, so that's
the closest thing to that experience that you'd ever get. You'd put your phone away, you'd forget everything you know, and you'd just be like, all right, I'm at Luxor. All right, there's Karnak. All right, cool. All right, Eclipse. All right, cool. All right. I'm going to embody the ancients.
See, the total a total eclipse would be amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing one day. But the Egyptians do it almost because you have to wait for that, and you only maybe get one in your lifetime, let's say.
And you can't predict them,
and you can't predict it because it's a 3-body problem. And but then the way the Egyptians construct their temples, and the light will come in for only one particular day. So it'll be sunrise on the vernal equinox, and the sun will rise.
It's how they mark their seasons.
Yes, and it shines in through the corridor of the chamber onto the stone carving of the pharaoh or whoever it is that's supposed to live eternally. That's amazing, and you get that once a year. It's a lot of things, isn't it? And you can predict it as well.
It's a lot of things, isn't it? It's engineering, it's construction, it's maths, it's science, it's religion. It's
architecture.
All of these things, architecture.
And
the science is built into the architecture, encoded into the brick, because it's not just an impressive building. You don't just go, wow, this is a cool building. It served a scientific purpose. It was to tell the people when it's time to harvest or when it's time to sow. So it's so important to a civilized. It's the same as popping a sundial in the middle of town square. First thing you do, pop a sundial up. People know the time. It's a service to the community. This thing is just, and a lot of ancient cultures had ways of doing this, marking the seasons. They often built it into their architecture, or had technology that they would use to, it's the right time. Facing things north, south.
I was thinking Stonehenge. I can't remember what the purpose of Stonehenge is.
I don't think they really know.
I
don't think they really know.
I'll
The
see what
Druids just hung out there,
ChatGPT says
right?
about
The
it.
Druids just used to hang
Definitely.
out there?
Druids, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT thinks the purpose of Stonehenge, a prehistoric monument located in Wiltshire, England, has been the subject of fascination and debate for many years, while its exact function remains uncertain due to lack
how
of
funny is that?
written
We know what the
records.
pyramids were for, but they were from 3,500 BC. We know they were tombs, but
We
don't
not.
know. We don't know.
I don't think
we don't
people commonly accept the tomb thing anymore.
I think they do. I think they do.
I don't know.
If you go to Wikipedia and you type in Great Pyramid, it'll tell you it's a tomb. That's a problem because what's the evidence that says it's a tomb besides the bloke's name on the front that was clearly done way later?
Well, I mean, just none of the pyramids have ever had
mummies.
Yeah. Even the unlooted ones. There's the queen of the wife of, I think it was Khufu, who the Great Pyramid was named after. They found, so 5,000 years old, this is about 5,000 years ago, they found her tomb, and it was down a 25-meter shaft. They found it, I think, in the last 100 years. And it was, they purportedly untouched, a bit like the Tutankhamun situation. And there was just an empty coffin in there. Everything else was in there, but an empty coffin, just like the Great Pyramid, which was sealed up until more recent times. And when they actually got in there, when that Arab Al-Mamun blasted his way in and blasted his way sort of around the granite plugs that were protecting it, he assumed it must have been looted because there was nothing there except for what looked like a granite box. But I mean, if it was looted, how could you possibly take everything? There was just some skeletons. And also, how did they get in there? There's no way in. There's no way in. It took them, have you
heard the bit that, like, if the actual entrance wasn't visible, because they close it off, they seal it up, but if the entrance wasn't visible, the fact that he picked that spot to start digging in, because that actually intersects.
It did intersect, yeah. He made a calculated decision. He went on the north face.
So he must have known where the entrance was.
No, he didn't. They searched all around the outside of it. They can't find it. They can't do it. They just can't find it. I don't know. It must be covered.
He couldn't find it. We found it.
Once he got in, then you could go from the
up. Yeah.
You go, but it must have been heavy, it must be like, big rocks and stuff. So it's like kind of like, which rock do we kind of blast away at? Or
well, you got to remember that, like, the pyramids were being systematically deconstructed in later years because people were using it to build the walls of Cairo.
And mosques and things like that.
People were like chipping bits away and taking bits back to their house all the
time. This is even what's more impressive because of how big and vast they are. So obviously we just see the bones of the three pyramids of Giza, and there was about another 2.5 meters or so of polished limestone on the outside of it, which has been systematically removed, like you say.
But you can still spot a bit at the base, and you can still spot a bit at the top of one of the pyramids.
So like back in when the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, that was done on the orders of basically the Catholic Church, whoever's running that shit at the time, because anything that was ancient was regarded as being pagan and therefore sinful.
Is sort of like evil, okay.
Evil. So they destroyed ancient pagan things. They would have destroyed the pyramids if they fucking could. Someone commissioned the small one to be destroyed, and there's like a scar through it where they tried to systematically remove the blocks, and too many people died. It was too vast a project. Wow. They couldn't even dismantle one. They couldn't even dent the small one. It's got this big scar down one of the,
and that's by the. That's from that time.
That wasn't the time, but that's the sentiment. So there was no respect for the pyramids.
There's meant to be they weren't
conserved. There are three smaller ones. There's three big ones and there's three smaller ones, which are purportedly
are they all
the
intact?
Queens. I don't
some
remember
of them
seeing them.
I
don't remember seeing them, to be honest.
Some of them are pretty messed up.
Yeah,
some of them are just the bases now.
I didn't even see them. So yeah, there wouldn't be much to it if anything. Is my guess just from having been there.
Yeah.
But my point is, they weren't actively conserved. They have not only stood the test of time naturally and survived the elements, they have been attacked and survived. They can't. They've been chipped away at by generation after generation. They've been tried to be systematically destroyed. If the church could have destroyed this ancient, evil, sinful, pagan reminder,
the fact that it did survive is quite amazing.
It's
considering what was destroyed, like so much has been destroyed.
It's virtually indestructible.
This is the only remaining great wonder of the world, as named by, I don't know, is that Herodotus who started naming the ancient wonders of the world? But it's the only one still standing. Every single other one of them, more or less, either burnt down in a fire or suffered catastrophic earthquakes that rendered it either to the sea or to rubble. So, and some of them, they don't even know if they actually existed.
Yeah, they're just like myths at this point.
Like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon could be multiple locations that maybe not even in Babylon, potentially, which is fascinating.
This is what people sleep on, I think, with the pyramids. If you don't want to turn your mind to it and be excited by them, is the scale is fucking out of control. It's a 40-story building.
It's a big-ass tomb.
It's been the biggest building for over 4 millennia. Only recently have we been able to build something big. The scale is
What's the biggest thing that humans build?
Well, I think I know where you're going with this. I think it's power plants. I think it's energy generation. I don't think there's
I was going to say the biggest thing that we build is like a big skyscraper. That is the biggest thing that we build.
I was going to say dams, and that they relate to energy generation as well. Because you use dams.
And water. You need water.
Yeah.
Like the Hoover Dam is pretty big.
Yeah, and that's for energy as well. That's a hydroelectric. And
it's also built to last too. That's the other element of the Hoover Dam, is it's built to last. Well, and the pyramids were built to last in the sense that they did last, but only till now. So who knows what they're going to look like in a couple of 1,000 years of us kicking around.
But when you say a couple of 1,000 years,
it's nothing.
For the pyramids, that's nothing. If they've done 4,500, close to 5,000 years,
yeah, exactly.
They're not even close to going anywhere. They are solid as a rock. They've survived earthquakes.
Yeah, but I think it's at a very good spot for earthquakes. Not close to the sea. We've talked about this before, but it's in a beautifully placed position to last. To last. What do you need? We want dry, arid, no earthquakes, not close to a major body of water. Yes, please.
And then the sexiest question is, once you get your head around the scale of it, why so fucking big? It can't just be an ego thing. I think that's the way
something so big.
It's big.
That's so difficult to navigate internally equals question marks. The only reason you make something really big is to do something really big in there. If you were expecting to walk into the pyramids and it be a big open area for you to look around in and be in awe of, it ain't. You're crawling around, you're going through tight passages, you're climbing up this, all that sort of jam. It wasn't built to be looked around, I don't think. I think it had probably a very important purpose.
What is the purpose? This is the crazy question. Why so big? Okay, and when to answer that question, I agree with you. There is a purpose. I don't think you just say. I don't think the purpose is just that the ego of the pharaoh wanted something big. I think there is a function. And then what is the function? There's all these question marks.
I don't think it's weirder. A power plant. I got more questions. Okay, it's not really a question, but it gets weirder. It's not like they built a little one and then went, oh yeah, do that again but bigger. Oh yeah, do that again but bigger. The big one was first, right?
One of the complex. Yes, and one of the first pyramids of them all.
So, what are we going to do? We're going to start with a bang. We're going to do the biggest, baddest thing, and then everyone else just went, "That was way too big, bro. That was way too big." We'll build one that's pretty much the exact same size next to it.
I've been getting my thoughts together about the pyramids. I'm not ready to fully have I could do a whole episode on it, but
yeah. but
I'm going to save it. I'm not going to get too deep into it because.
But the decline of all the structures, the pyramids, the decline, the fact that they built their best shit in the beginning strongly suggests, at least to me, that they had external help that was only useful for about 30 years. And then they sort of went, or 50 years, where they went, look, they passed down as much as they could. He told me how to use a compass and square, and I can kind of make things straight. Like, let's go. I think that's kind of more likely than a sieve going, hey, we did the best shit when we started and now we're a bit trash now.
There was no lead in. There was no lead in.
No lead in.
When you actually start to understand when you're talking with huge scale, you're talking huge planning. And when you get your head around some of the engineering and maths, which they did not have at the time, you start going, there seems like there's some kind of help. There's something, really peculiar about it.
And you don't have to go as crazy as aliens. We don't have to do that. We don't need to. There are reasons.
They just knew. The Egyptians aren't attributed with, the ancient Egyptians aren't attributed with as much knowledge as they had. We don't give them the credit they deserve. We do not. Yeah. All these things that are represented in the pyramid clearly, starkly, if you look up when you look at, who figured this out, who figured out pi and the golden ratio, even true north, all these things are there. They're all there. But if you look up who figured all these things out,
there's a reason to want true north though, without getting celestial with it, without getting crazy
that can be
just seasonal stuff and all that sort of jam.
But when you build something of that scale, which we've just gone into, and it is one of the most accurately facing buildings to true north you can get, it's like. And you're doing it at that scale.
On the scale.
Like I get it if they put two stones up, and you're like, you put a lot of thought. But when you do something on the biggest scale of all time,
straight off the bat,
and you do it perfectly,
doesn't really make sense, does it?
And then and also like things.
So what were they doing just before the pyramids? I reckon they were sitting down. This guy's drawing a triangle. They did sand. He's like, what's that? He's like, well, that's a triangle. And it's like, how big can you make that? And he's like, how big you want? You just keep going.
They did Zos's step pyramid before that.
Yeah.
And that was they did one, the idea was they did like one flat kind of like room type thing. And then they decided he couldn't see, he wanted to be able to see further in the distance, essentially. Something like this. They built another one on top, another step,
DearMoon Mission all over again.
Yeah, and then they went up. Eventually they did 7 levels, and it looks like a pyramid, but it's got steps to it. I mean, the Great Pyramid the Giza Pyramid has steps because all the casing stones been removed. It's got 201 steps to it, but it just looks like a massive pyramid because it's fucking, the scale of it is just that freaking ginormous.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But anyway, I could go. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I won't bore you anymore with it.
We are pumped about Egypt in general. We love it. It's such good fun. The more we learn, the less we know really on Egypt. It's such an enigma.
I know so little now.
Yeah. Oh man, I know less than I've ever known. We'll be back to do this all again next week as we continue the charge towards that big Ep 100.
Let's do a Giza Pyramid episode 100.
Oh, mate. We can do
with some hot wings.
We can actually do whatever we want. We spent a good hour talking about like the 3-body problem and aliens in general. So we can do whatever we want.
Nice.
We'll see you next time.
Of course. See you then. Did you watch much? You watched the footy on the weekend?
I did, yeah. What a bummer. I mean, if you're going to get beaten by, we got beaten by the worst team of the last apart from us, of the last few years. And it was good to see them get a win because I think that's nice for them. But it's one win in the season. It's still brutal to be a North Melbourne supporter.
Yeah,
You got to
I know,
feel
I
for
know.
them.
I
Even
didn't-
though
I
we
didn't even,
lost,
yeah,
I didn't
take
feel
it.
a thing.
Not at all.
Yeah, I felt
Not at
more
all.
for them.
Have a win.
Have a
good
win,
on you.
yeah. I mean,
good on you.
Is it just because Harley Reid didn't play that no one got excited? Because if Harley Reid was playing, I can guarantee you that I would have watched the game with a lot more intensity because I did watch the game.
Yeah,
and I thought we were doing quite well. We actually got the lead towards the Death Man. We nearly got him.
They're doing it.
They nearly got him.
Yeah.
But then what a win if you did take it off them. Like for them to be so close to their first win and then you just nab them right at the end. Soz, mate. Maybe next week, eh? But because they were running out of chances to actually get their only win of the season. So they've seized the opportunity they came out west and did it. It's a huge boost to the boys.
The Eagles versus North again later in the year, but over there. So I mean, that was their chance. They should have let us have this one, and we'll have that, and then they'll have that one.
We're playing against them twice in a season.
Yeah.
That's some pandering, isn't it? It's letting the bottom teams duke it out a bit. What is that?
They do that. So the bottom 6 teams generally play the other bottom 6 teams twice. The top
to give
6
each other
teams,
a good chance.
It's like a way of evening out the competition as
you
well.
You mean as in the 6th seeded team, or do you think it's the AFL going, we predict this team to be the best?
No, so based on where you finished last year.
Yeah, based on where you finished last year.
There are other scheduling things.
That's how they do those highlight rounds as well, where they do the grand final rematch and stuff like that. Last year. They often start the season with a grand final rematch.
Yeah. So there's obviously other scheduling things that might overlap that make it impossible. But as I think a rule of thumb, if you finish in the bottom 6, you'll generally play your double up games against bottom 6 teams subject to So it's good. That's why you actually can slingshot yourself from a low position to have quite a good year. But then you get to finals and you're always going to be playing a team that deserves to be there.
So the team who was we need to look at the ladder from last year so that we can see who's getting stiffed on the fixtures this year, and that can account for their position on the ladder being so low or perceived to be so low. Because a lot of people in the media biz of the AFL, it's they don't know what the top 8 looks like right now. They don't know. It's so weird this season.
In the media. Oh, yeah. No,
it's a weird season for predicting the ladder. You got a lot of teams that are outside the 8 that should definitely be in the 8, whose window should have definitely still been open. I'm talking like Brisbane, teams like that.
Yeah, Brisbane, yeah. You'd say rough. Melbourne as well. Melbourne, Collingwood, and
then you got
Brisbane
teams like Essendon who haven't been performing super well. And now all of a sudden, boom, Essendon are right
there's
up
always
there.
Surprise packets. So what freaks me out actually is St Kilda, right, having a dog shit year, right?
Yeah.
They played Brisbane. I think they played Brisbane and lost this week, didn't they?
I don't know. Did
I
they beat us as well?
St Kilda. But
they beat us.
My point, is St Kilda I've written off as being just a shit show and that they're not going to get anywhere this year. Before the Brisbane game, one of the commentators pointed out this time last year, GWS and Carlton had the same record as St Kilda right now.
Wow.
And they both
huge.
went on to prelim finals.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's crazy. Because I remember they got hot second half of the year. So you can't just I'd written them off. I'm not saying they lost. They lost the first game they played. So they had to win that one, right?
Yeah.
But my point was they're not out of it. Because we had 2 teams do that last year. Go from 4 and 7 to making a prelim.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, throw the book out.
Hey, I've been looking into Giza Pyramid, getting my thoughts together so I can actually explain things.
Oh no.
Yeah. You're gonna cop it. You're gonna cop it one day. Yeah, big time.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Because I can just give my limited flavor.
Yeah, no,
anything
Tell me if I'm being crazy.
Oh man, anytime you say something where I'm like, man, that's the current understanding of Egyptology, where it's like something which I can't even put 2 and 2 together, and this is like the best we've got. The best chance of an understanding is these Egyptologists who are saying crazy things. It's wild.
Yeah,
so I'm ready to scrutinize some shit.
Scrutinize away. Play. Be brutal as well. Because what I've realized I need to figure out is because if I'm going to convey an understanding to you, because I've read bits and pieces, and then the body of work starts to. Although I can't explain to you the way I feel about it.
Mm.
I've seen enough where I was like, oh, that's like, it'll just be another drop into the, oh, that's interesting. But I've never sort of put it all together and sort of starting to sift through it. And for example, things like pi, like we know broadly, you know broadly what pi is. Like, it's a ratio between the diameter and the circumference of a circle. But you need to know, if you type into ChatGPT or Google, who discovered pi, you need to know who they think, what Western society says who invented it and in what time period. So you need to like constantly have this understanding of, okay, so what does the pyramid do? How does it do it? And it has to be so clear that you can verify. You can go like, oh, okay, it does that. I can see that. I can see the argument for that number existing. And then you need to understand who, like, they did it how long before we say we knew what that was.
It does throw things way wide open when you say these guys had knowledge that was, we're saying thousands of years
prior
before
to
they
that.
got the wheel sorted. They were working on pi.
Yeah, and so like I can establish, so the things I think that I can
They're like, what's a
establish
circle?
to you,
like a wheel? A what?
yeah,
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
I didn't even realize what you said then, in the fact that they didn't have the wheel, but the pyramids encoding the yes, exactly. So we've got true north, which is just more of an impressive feature of the pyramid.
A lot of ancients did it.
Because you're doing something that's, yeah, exactly. But this is done with precision that is better than virtually anything in the ancient world. I'd say it's the most.
I don't know, man. I reckon if we were to go check out some Machu Picchu stuff or whatever, I reckon a lot of it's going to align up to north.
No, but I need to get, this is what I need to do. You need to get quotes of people that you can rely on where they say this is such extraordinary accuracy. It is so it's not just
I'm more
me
talking
telling you.
broadly northern facing buildings. I'm not talking precision accuracy.
The precision of this, the precision,
Sure.
And so you need, like, it's the context of knowing, if I just tell you, oh, it's precisely north, that doesn't, you're just taking my word for it. You need either someone that's reputable saying, this is actually the most accurately aligned north-south building of the ancient world, something to that effect. I don't have that.
That'd be great.
So you got pi, and it's got it to like lots of decimal points, and then that was well before, like, thousands of years. You've got there's basically the Pythagoras' theorem, the c squared plus a squared equals c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That and some other triangles, a 3, 4, 5 triangle and this other triangle. Anyway, that's all attributed to Pythagoras, who also studied as an Egyptian priest for 22 years. So we give all that to Pythagoras, right?
Yes.
When he was studying, no one, I didn't know this.
Ancient texts.
He's studying ancient texts, and then so if you add
he's
that
a mystery
into
schoolboy. He's a mystery schoolboy.
He's a mystery schoolboy.
Yeah.
And we don't give any credits to the Egyptians. Or we say Pythagoras was the father of these things.
He was reading Egyptian shit.
And same thing with Plato, who came well after Pythagoras. And he also studied as an Egyptian priest, by the way. And he called this sacred 3, 4, 5 and the 2 square root 5, 3 triangle, basically all that Pythagoras stuff. He called that the building blocks of the cosmos. And then that's clearly, you can also establish that's clearly articulated in the pyramids, but I've got my sort of reasons for all this stuff. You've got the golden section, which is, you've heard the golden ratio, right? But this is the thing, you need to explain to someone in a nutshell what that is and why it's important and who's it been attributed to at what point in time. And for example, just give you, again, like I've got like kind of quotes, and I'm not just going to go through this like an essay. It's going to sort of, all this stuff will just kind of form the fabric of the discussion. But Kepler, who was like, scientist, astronomer from, 500 years ago, he calls the golden section as one of the 2 treasures of geometry, that being this one and the Pythagoras and the Pythagorean theorem. So you've got these scientists saying that these things that it encodes are actually the building blocks of maths. So it's not just like when I tell someone, it encodes the gold. Like if I was talking to Clay, I was like, and I said, this thing, clearly articulate this establishes the golden section or the golden ratio. He would be like, I don't give a shit, man. But if you sort of say, this guy who names you've heard of, and they refer to this as like the treasure of geometry, and then you realize why it's encoded, because it's all the most important things. But Clay, for example, using Clay as an example, but you don't give it weight because you just think, it's just a random, they've just picked like a random ratio or a random fact. I'm like, no, they've actually got the building blocks, to these important things.
Yeah, and you can apply it in all sorts of ways in terms of you can then take that knowledge of being able to do stuff and use it in construction.
Yeah, and if you're initiated into, so it's all there.
Mystery schools.
It's all there. And if someone tells you, like this, this, blah, blah, they explain it to you, then it's there. Then it's even more obvious because it's like it's a cheat sheet or it's a note. It's
more like Pythagoras was successful in reading the correct books. Right?
He didn't come up with
it.
Yeah, and I mean, he was just like initiated.
It's like discovering something almost. It's a discovery more than it's a. Because if he's the first one to be like, holy shit, this is actually really important, then that is important. It's an important find to find this lost knowledge, all right? But it already existed for potentially thousands of years.
Totally. And things like all these famous people seem to come back to, all these famous mathematicians back in the day all come back to Egyptian schools.
Of course they do.
And that's what I mean about when we don't give them enough credit. And then I was talking to Christy about it without going too deep because I know that she jokes. She's like, I got nothing to add, but I love hearing about it, but I just don't really know. Of course, it's not her. It's the thing. And I can't explain it because I'm just fucking idiot. I'm just getting excited about things. But I can't remember where I was going with that actually. Yeah, but I've got some good stuff. It's all just marinating away.
Yeah, look forward to it, man. We will jump on that.